Hey everybody, welcome to Goshen Prepping. Thanks for joining us. When it comes to being prepared and stockpiling and having food, proteins and lipids are the key. Proteins are the key to life. And having a lot of protein stockpiled is going to make you much healthier and able to survive, well, whatever it's coming. So I've actually come across 10 protein sources that you're going to want to stockpile and keep in your prepper pantry. And watch to the end because, of course, some of these are very important. You may not have thought about these. We're going to go through all 10 and therefore stockpile them and you'll be ready to go. Let's jump into it. Number one, beans and legumes. And when we say beans and legumes, we're talking about happiness. I love beans, I don't know about you. And I don't care if you're talking about having like canned beans. I mean, Bush's baked beans may not be what we're talking about, but obviously having cans of like black beans or kidney beans, chickpeas and lentils. Oh, that's good stuff. Dry or canned, obviously. I've never seen any canned lentils, but having dried lentils so you can prepare them are great. Another bean, by the way, you want to add to your list are peanuts. Yeah, peanuts are actually legumes. Who knew? I love peanuts, and I keep a lot of them in stock, not to mention making things into dishes with peanuts, which a lot of people don't think about. They think about just munching on them, which is always good too. But dry beans, obviously, you're going to want to repackage them, put them in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber, and then canned beans like this will actually last practically forever. So make sure you have lots of beans and legumes because they are packed up with a punch of proteins. They have some carbs too, which can actually give you some energy. But again, proteins are the key, and beans will do well for you. Number two, peanut butter. Oh, and I'm a peanut butter fan. I don't know about you. Now, I love getting the different ones that say no added sugar. And it's funny because the other day I had some Jif with sugar and a whole bunch of other stuff added. And in my palate, it tasted terrible. I love the no sugar added ones. It really is mostly, practically speaking, just the peanuts on here. And then some palm oil, which is not the best, and some salt, which is good to have. But this is much better than having some of the other ones. And if you find some natural peanut butter, you'll be much better off. Now, storage-wise, unfortunately, peanut butter will only last so long. We're talking about maybe, and I'm talking about at the most, maybe a year. But surprisingly, the ones with the sugar and the garbage added are the ones that last longer than the ones that are no sugar added or the more natural ones. And of course, what happens with peanut butter is it goes rancid. Now, I like to mention that when food turns rancid, it tastes like Play-Doh. I mean, it really smells just like it. Did I say taste it? It smells just like Play-Doh. Hope you're not tasting Play-Doh. And you smell it, and it's clear as a bell. You're like, oh, wow, Play-Doh. Oh, that's rancid. You can still eat it, by the way, forever. Down the road, eat it. But unfortunately, it'll make your stomach very upset, and it takes away a lot of the nutrients. But, if you have a crap fan situation, you may not have any choice. But peanut butter, in my opinion, is one of the best things to have, especially trying to be healthy, too. It's my go-to snack pretty much all day long. So stock up on your peanut butter. Number three, oatmeal. Not only high in protein, but high in lots of vitamins and nutrients. Oatmeal is amazing. And honestly, I don't care if you get the steel cut, the rolled oats, or even the quick oats too, which are really great for making breakfast in the morning. All three of them are just as high and nutritious. Now, with that, the rolled oats tend to work better when you're like baking things, but the steel cut oats, those are the ones you want to have for breakfast. Because the way they're actually broken up and cut, it's a little bit more difficult for us to digest, which you think, oh, that's bad for you. No, that's good because it actually stays with you longer and makes you feel more satisfied over the long run. But I don't care which oats you have. Still the same thing. It's always best to repackage it. You could always do a food grade bucket if you have a large amount and put some oxygen absorbers in there for long term. Number four, protein bars. For regular days and such, I don't touch the things because protein bars are almost always loaded in carbs too. Now, if you're talking about on the run, crap hits the fan, that's what you want. You want to have the extra carbs to give the energy because, well, you're on the run. You want to be able to have the energy to do what you need to. Not necessarily bad in a situation where you're talking about crap hits the fan, but protein bars in regular day, it's up to you. It's up to you if that's what you want. But for me personally, it's not like a huge thing I stockpile. Number five, eggs. Eggs are the perfect food. Lots of proteins in there, but lots of lipids and some carbs too. It really keeps you going. I love eggs, but of course having the fresh eggs is not all that easy sometimes. I mean, if you have chickens and hens like we do, that's great. But of course buying store-bought eggs is an alternative as well. Now, lots of things you can do to preserve your eggs. You can scramble them up and put them in the freezer, and they'll last practically indefinitely that way. It does reduce, like you can't make like over easy eggs with them anymore, but for like baking or just some scrambled eggs, it'll still work for you. You can dehydrate them. You can freeze dry them. You can water glass the eggs, which actually works really well, but we're only talking about even then, it's only a couple years as far as they'll last at the maximum. So do what you can. Another option you can do is simply just buy powdered eggs like from like Auguson farms, and that we always have some. But again, if possible, it's always best if you have a couple hens to produce the eggs for you every single day, nice and fresh. Number 6, protein powder. Now, this may be cheating for the fact that, it has all the proteins you need right in one giant massive thing. I like to buy the Muscle Feast. And this whey protein isolate is amazing for the fact that it separates out all the proteins you need. Really, really, really good for you. Most of your proteins, by the way, you'll often find them sweetened with like aspartame or some kind of artificial sweetener, which is awful. I like the Muscle Feast ones. I'll put a link below, by the way, if you want to pick one of these up. It's sweetened with stevia. And for me personally, stevia is something that it is natural. It doesn't mess with me at all, where the artificial sweeteners and sometimes will. But these are great because you can get this thing, and without it opened, it'll last for years like this. Even more so, if you wanted to pop it open, put an oxygen absorber in, it'll help you as well. Now, I will tell you that when you talk about protein powders, they are not, by all means, inexpensive. They are pretty pricey. But what I do is I simply just buy one every month and add it to my, my stockpile. And that way I always have these too, because you could literally just have a mixed protein shake, once a day, and it basically will carry you through the whole day, and you won't have to have anything else. So I always have a lot of protein powders, and the Muscle Feast, in my opinion, is the best one to have. Number 7, almonds. And I don't know about you, but I love almonds. They're very munchable. You can even get different flavors. Like, personally, I like the wasabi ones, or the very dangerous cocoa-covered almonds. Yeah, really good stuff. But almonds are great because they can practically store for years in the original container. If you still do a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber, it'll help make them last longer. But they're very, very good for you, high in fiber, high in protein, and again, very munchable and something you can take with you on the go. Number 8, quinoa. Quinoa is one of those things that's up and coming where a lot of people don't know about it, but it's I find it to be a meal addition to put it with your main meal on there. Same thing, Mylar bag with oxygen absorber, and it's very versatile, but also high in proteins. Number 9, pumpkin seeds. Oh yes, I love pumpkin seeds. How about you? Every fall comes around, we take our pumpkins, roast the pumpkin seeds, which makes them crisp and delicious, and an amazing snack, by the way, that is very healthy for you. Lots of fiber, very tasty. Unfortunately, when it comes to pumpkin seeds, they do not last very long. We're talking about 2 or 3 months. We find that if they start getting a little soggy, we'll just rebake them again a little bit. You do have the option of putting them in the freezer, which will make them last a long time, but when you take them out, guaranteed to be soggy. But again, you always do a little baking at that point too. But if you can add pumpkin seeds, obviously not for maybe long-term storage, unless you want to do the freezer method, it is an option to do. What we do is every fall, we always get our hands on as many pumpkins as possible. And not only use the pumpkin for canning, you have to have certain pumpkins for that, by the way, but we can take the seeds and roast them. And again, a very healthy and delicious snack. Do you like pumpkin seeds? And number 10, meats. And I save the best for last because meats, along with eggs, are the perfect foods. And I could live on just eggs and meat the rest of my life. I mean, you could too, for that matter, for the fact that being healthy, it's all about having proteins and fats. And between eggs and meat, there you go. Obviously, having meat storage-wise is not the easiest thing. There's lots of methods you could do, obviously, between salting and smoking meat and such. But I find just the canned meats and stocking up on these works very well. Here's some good old chicken breast. It's not the best chicken, it's the leftover pieces. And I mean, it's tasty-ish as long as you put stuff with it, but it does have a lot of proteins and fats you need, or like tuna too. I love tuna, but you can only have so much tuna as far as like the mercury and such in it. Well, there's lots of options, isn't there? There's salmon, and there's roast beef, and there's, sardines and canned turkey, and the list goes on and on. I love canned meats, and I always talk about it's one of the best things you have. Even if you stockpile rice and beans, which is like the quintessential stockpile thing that preppers do, it still does not have all the essential fats you need, by the way. It does have all the proteins you need, but not fats. You need to stipend it with some kind of meats to be able to get everything you need in your diet to be able to sustain life. Anyways, when it comes to meats, canned meats are basically the way to go. And I like to stockpile lots and lots of canned meat. So there's my last question for you. What's your favorite canned meat? Not necessarily canned, or what's your favorite protein source? Because having proteins is the key to life, to basically being nice and healthy and such. Eating a lot of carbs and stuff leads to a lot of disease, and that's where we're at in the United States, because look at the grocery store aisles full of carbs. Go with the proteins. Put in the comments below, what's your favorite proteins? And thanks for watching as always, and we'll see you next time.